Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
I would like to call to order the 24th session of the Pontiac Charter Revision Commission special meeting. Roll call.
Commissioner Burrows, Garrett, Killian, Payne,
Present.
Ramsey,
Here.
Stewart,
Here.
Turpin,
Here.
Williams,
Present.
Ibarra. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Authorization to excuse the commissioners who are not present. That would be Burrows, Garrett, Killian, and Ibarra.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Stewart and supported by Williams. Roll call.
Payne,
Yes.
Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
Amendment to the agenda. No amendments. Approval of the agenda.
Make a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Williams and supported
Supported.
supported by Stewart to approve the agenda as is. Roll call.
Payne,
Yes.
Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
Approval of the minutes for the December 14th, 2023 meeting.
Moved.
It's been moved by Williams and supported by Turpin. Roll call.
Commissioner Payne,
Yes.
Ramsey,
If I abstain, will that stop anything? Yes.
Stewart, Turpin, Williams.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. Public comment? Okay. All right, our special presentation. I believe that would be you, sir.
Microphone.
Let's see if that does it.
There you go.
Good evening, Chairperson Ramsey and members of the commission. My name is Dan Christ, and I have the pleasure of being with you this evening. I had received some communication from the city clerk indicating that there was some desire by the Charter Commission to have legal counsel assist it with respect to its endeavor to prepare, review, vet, and present to the people of the city of Pontiac a proposed charter revision. So I'm happy to be here this evening. My firm is a small firm, Hafley, Sterin and Christ. We have a specialty in representing public entities, both townships, cities, special authorities, downtown development districts, parks and recreation commissions, charter commissions. I personally have been practicing municipal law for over 30 years. My firm has a collective experience of over 75 years of municipal experience. We recently assisted the city of Clawson with respect to its successful charter revision campaign. We're currently providing legal assistance to the city of Ludington with respect to its charter revision. Not right next door, but we are providing that counsel. That currently there was a citizen-initiated lawsuit, so that's on hold for the time being. But we had been making pretty good progress in providing advice and recommendations for what will at some point be a proposed charter for that community. As I understand it, the Charter Commission has made a lot of progress with respect to what you see as the vision of a successful charter to present to the people of the city of Pontiac. My role, should you decide that you wish to have my assistance and my firm's assistance, would be to provide our legal expertise with respect to areas of the law that are required under the Constitution of the State of Michigan, under the Home Rule Cities Act, and provide advice with respect to best practices that are utilized by cities, villages, and townships across the state. We believe that we have a successful track record with respect to providing advice to our municipal clients, but we appreciate our role, and our role is that of a counselor. Your role is that of a decision maker, and the ultimate decision maker as to the proposed content of a charter that would be presented to your community. So what we believe we have a skill at is listening. And once we listen and we understand some of the concerns that a particular body has or a board has, we can help fashion solutions, and we can present those solutions as alternatives for the Charter Commission to reflect on and, if warranted, adopt. I don't want to go on too long with respect to the general background of our firm, but I'm certainly happy to if you want. I would certainly invite any questions that you have with respect to either myself or any member of my firm. I'm the only one here tonight, but be happy to try and answer that. Some of the challenges that I do see in my limited exposure thus far to the process that the city of Pontiac is undertaking is, as I understand it, there is a limited time that remains for this charter commission. And that's a challenge. And that's a challenge not so much, although it could be, with respect to the commission coming up with its concept of a best product charter, but with respect to the not just administrative, but ministerial reviews that are required under a proposed charter, both the review from the Attorney General's office and also the separate and distinct responsibility of the governor of the state of Michigan with respect to, although she leans heavily on the Attorney General's office for that review. There's a time lag that is required with respect to that process to have the Attorney General provide meaningful responses to the text that is presented to them. I know the Assistant Attorney General, Mr. Elworth, who has been responsible for that aspect of the Attorney General's office for the state of Michigan for many, many years. He is starting to transition and hopes at some point, I think, to retire. So that lag and that time lag to get that review is something that I think the Charter Commission needs to keep front and center with respect to the remaining work that you may have to do in trying to come up with a appropriate and acceptable document that you all hopefully can agree on is best suited to be presented to the people. Again, if you have any specific or pointed questions, I'm going to do my best to try and answer them. Again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you this evening. And with that, I don't have any further, at least preliminary comments.
Thank you very much, one, for showing up tonight. We appreciate you coming and letting us know your expertise, providing the materials and references. A few friends on here, so I see we're in good company. I will open it up to the commissioners if anyone has any questions. Williams?
Yes, so, Mr. Christ, do you think that this timeline that we're on is actually feasible to get a work product to the Attorney General and to the Governor's office?
Well, if I could, Vice Chair, I don't know, because I haven't yet had an opportunity to vet the document that you've prepared thus far. But I don't want to, so yes, I think the answer is you can do it. The question is the amount of time, and I know you've all put in time because I heard it's the 24th meeting, but you may have to put in more time. And there may, obviously it's your discretion, but there might have to be special meetings that may be called, depending on the status of the product, the work product that you developed thus far. I'm not in a position to provide a intelligent answer because I don't know really what point you're at. But I think everybody up there appreciates the urgency of having the document to the AG as soon as possible so that you can have it before your electors, as I understand it, by August of '24.
Thank you. Any other, I would just like to add, we are working off of a charter that was sent to the state and approved. It just was not approved by the voters. So we are working off of that charter, making some revisions. So our hope was that since we were working off an approved charter, all we would have to do is get our amendments vetted and not the entire thing.
I think you're going to find that the Attorney General's office is going to go line by line through the entirety of the document. That's the way they work, and they're very thorough in their review process, and they take their responsibility, and the governor takes her responsibility very serious and is going to not necessarily, I don't believe, rely on a past or prior review of significant portions. Now, maybe internally they will do that, but I don't think they will tell you they're going to do that.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? We are asking, we are going to ask for a vote to approve this contract. I see Commissioner Payne with her hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chris, in regarding to the, let's assuming that all of the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, with the document that we have, what would be a timeline that you would need to review this for?
I don't think I can answer that. I haven't seen the document. I don't know what the status of that work product document is.
Okay.
I don't know if the commission has largely come up with its product and you're looking for a review, or whether you are having constructive discussions regarding alternative provisions within the charter that you're looking for guidance or you're looking for recommendations on. If you're past that point and you've already largely settled on a document and you're looking to make sure that it's not contrary to any state law or contrary to any provision in the Home Rule Cities Act, then it's going to be a quicker review period. If you're looking for advice or recommendations with respect to subject matter, but you're not sure which way you wish to have that subject matter treated or addressed, it's going to take a little bit more time.
Okay. I guess my question, again, is if we have completed the document the best of our ability and then turn that document over to you for review, considering it's, 40 pages, 50 pages? How long do you think that would take you to? What is the timeline there?
I'll interject if you don't mind, just because I think I can provide, maybe I'll provide some context. So, as Chairperson said, we started from the 2013 charter. We basically said that one is much better than 1984. So we started from that point. What we have done is essentially gone line item by line item already and made changes that we believe would make sense based on each of the sections that are in the charter currently. And we have about one left, which is just ethical standards. For the most part, I think we are pretty good on most of the sections that we have gone through already. we have maybe a couple more things that, we want to walk through. We have some changes in here tonight. But I think that we have depending on how your team works, we do have the capacity to probably even send what's currently is done, because I don't know if there will be major changes to anything. So I think there's a way that we could, I'm just noting that because I think we're pretty
Could I
close.
explore that a little bit? When
Yeah.
you say you had, that you have an approved charter, what do you mean that you have an approved charter that the Attorney General and Governor?
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking, yeah, that is true. So the 2013, there was a charter commission in 2013. And so that was the one that Ms. Ramsey mentioned that,
Okay, so that was the one that there was a consensus of that charter commission.
Yes.
Different charter commission.
Yep.
That at that point in time, that elected charter commission thought that work product
Correct.
was the appropriate work product to take to the residents.
General,
For
yep.
whatever reason, that didn't happen.
Correct.
And so you have made an independent review of those sections, but believe that, at least on balance, those are the same language issues that you wish to present to the voters. Is that kind of right?
essentially, yeah,
Okay.
I think.
And so that review, you have a document, but has that been vetted from a legal standpoint?
It has not. And that is, I think, exactly what we probably would need your help, right? Is to kind of start on that process immediately to say, like, we could send you, I think, we have most of those pieces done, right? Where we've gone, I think we've gone through and made sure that we made changes that make sense to the time as it is now, right? So we've added a couple things. So we do know that there will be additional review. The nice thing is, I think, really where we came from is that we said, this group did a lot of the cleanup of the messiness of our current charter. Our current charter is kind of all over the place a little bit, right? It has a lot of provisions that don't make sense anymore, don't even exist, things that don't exist. And so they did a lot of that work in 2013. So what we did was we then added on some certain sections, some certain wording, changed wording around, those kind of things. And so that's kind of where we're at today.
May I ask, have you actually, as you've gone through reviewing that document, have you taken votes with respect, so you have a consensus, a affirmative vote of the majority of the Charter Commission has a document that so far you're pretty happy with?
Yep, so we actually went provision by provision and voted on each one as we
Okay,
made
well, that's
changes.
good.
So, yeah,
So- So again, outside of
context.
maybe the legal issue that you're looking for the assistance on, you like the language, the work product that you have right now?
yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
So I think that helps
Yeah.
Chairman Payne for me to, I don't think, not knowing that, and that's very, very helpful, the context of that. The real heavy lifting has been hopefully done. And now we will review it with an eye towards the legal issues to make sure that it's legally appropriate. I think that if you agree that in addition to whether the provisions pass legal muster, to the extent that there's a provision that we note may be not best practice, I think that if you agree, we should bring that at least to your attention. And then you, of course, would have the discretion to decide that you like it anyway, or you massage it in some manner that you decide is appropriate.
That's super helpful, I think. And I think, hopefully, Commissioner Payne, I think you feel that is helpful as well, yeah. His response helpful as well. I think, the timeline that we're working off of is essentially that we have meetings every week, essentially until basically the Attorney General said we have to get in by February 14th is kind of like the end-all, be-all date. Of course, if we can get it in before then, lovely.
Well-
but just wanted to highlight
I'm
the
sorry,
time frame.
What date was that?
February 14th. So that is what I wanted to verify.
Well,
right?
February 14th, you're meeting once a week?
Yes.
We're
And then adding
gonna-
more.
we're
And adding more.
'Cause I don't-
But we
But-
only have one section left, but I think that's why I think she's really concerned on time frame, right? Is we know that that's coming up fast. And we want to make sure you have capacity.
Can I ask the question of,
Let him, Scott ask, so let him answer that, and then you can go.
And could I ask again the number of pages of the document that?
I think it's about, with the amendments, it probably looks a little bit longer, but that's because we keep track changes on as well, but probably about 50.
50 pages?
Yep.
Well, I think that, 2 weeks plus that last weekend, I could have responses like by the 22nd. Excuse me, that's not, like by the 29th of January.
And when would that be if we gave you the document, or he can start now, you can start looking at it now, what we have completed and voted on, or would you like the whole thing at one time?
I think, given the time aspect, that it makes sense to start
With what we have?
Yesterday.
Yes.
And, so, sections that have been approved by the collective commission, I
Yeah.
think, I think that there's no time to waste, really.
Agreed. Agreed.
Okay, Turpin?
May I walk over?
all of this is predicated on the election being held in September, the, what,
August.
August?
August.
So what happened to November's election? Too much stuff on it?
It's too late. It's too late.
It's too late.
Yes, it is too late by
But August is okay.
is the last election we can do it on. So what happened?
So it has to happen during the time that we're in office?
Yes.
So, Dr. Turpin, the February 14th date was the date that the Attorney General gave us to say, you need to get this to us by this date so that it can be on the August election. It would have had to get to them probably by the end of, November, I think is what they said, to get on the May election if we were to do that. So this is kind of our last hot. What happened was, again, we got elected later than our charter passed, and so some of the
That's my
time frame
understanding.
language got kind of messed up, and so I think that's why we've been rushing a little bit to kind of get it done in a quick time frame. So that's kind of the hot.
Now, this document I just received, it's numbered, it starts on 32. Is there 1 to 32? It's 32 to 37.
Madam Clerk, correct me if I'm wrong. So the amendments are in a document by itself, and it's not woven into it wouldn't be, this is how we present the charter. The amendments are separate from the past charter. Is that correct? So we would have to put them in, move
Has
them.
anybody put them into the text of a charter document so that you have the proposed charter word for word as you're proposing it?
No, but we can do that.
Quickly, yeah, we can do that quickly.
That's
That's
the way it's going to be
Yep,
reviewed.
Yes.
exactly. They are worked in all of our previous minutes for the charter. So because we went through line by line, we actually took notes of each thing that was there. So really, it's just a quick move, I think, from copying those into the charter provisions, which we can do and then send forward, for sure. And that, we could probably get that done pretty quickly.
Madam
Very quickly.
Clerk, what would be the timeline? Would it take a couple days, a week?
This is pulling me away from our election. And we're in the midst of right now, too.
Can we have a volunteer come in and help? It's a legal document, so we can get a volunteer.
Well, what needs to be done can get done in a couple days.
Okay. So by next
Probably have to work the
Friday,
weekend.
can we say we can get it to him by Friday of next week, so a week from tomorrow? Like, he will
Yes.
have it Friday?
Yes.
That's too late?
Well, I'm going to work with, I'll work with staff and with the commission. But you want my reviews in 2 weeks, and that might cost me one of the 2 weeks.
Right. So we have till the 14th.
We'll have it to you. We're gonna say by Wednesday.
have it to you.
We're gonna say by Wednesday, and we're gonna do whatever we need to do to support
Yep.
the clerk to make that happen.
This is one of those,
Yes,
not your crisis situation.
yes. We will get that. Any other questions, comments?
Do you have other questions for us in terms of context?
Well,
I want to
mean,
be mindful, right?
Is Ms. Grandison the point person that I should reach out to, or is there some other administrative individual with respect to questions, either with the document or the process? Who is
It's gonna actually be the city clerk,
Mr. Doyle?
yes.
Okay, so he would be able to facilitate anything that doesn't happen to, you know.
Can we
will
do
I
a
actually
group
get the document
thread?
from him?
Yeah, that's just
I'm sorry,
The document will come from me, but
okay, but I should reach out to him.
yes.
Okay, that's helpful.
Okay, and I can reach out to him and let him know that we can, is it possible to have a group thread, a email thread, so that if they have any questions, maybe Kermit or I would have an answer to that, or could reach out to a commissioner to get that answer responded? Because what I don't want to happen is that he has to ask the clerk, then the clerk has to ask us, and then we have to, we don't have time for that. I'll check in.
Well, if the commission can have perhaps a point person or the chair on that, but I don't think it's appropriate to have everybody on.
No, I was saying myself and the vice chair. I think that we would like to be a part of that just to make things easier. So we'll talk to the clerk and make sure that happens. Okay, so so what we're going to do is to ask that we hire this firm at a rate of $200 an hour, not exceeding the $25,000 that we have budgeted. Also understanding that this is a very short time frame, and we're going to need a lot of hours and a lot of manpower to get through this in the appropriate time. Does anybody have any further questions, comments, or concerns? Yes, Payne?
I'm sorry, I just feel that we should apologize to you in regards to this, because I was under the impression that all of this information had already been given to you, not the document itself, but how we were working and where we were within the document. So I apologize
well,
for that.
Please, there's no apologies that's necessary. I did have a discussion with Mr. Doyle, and some of what's been communicated has been provided. I guess I wasn't exactly sure about all of it, but look forward to assisting the commission.
Thank you, thank you.
And thank you for you're still standing there, so thank you for still standing there and your willingness to help.
All right, any other questions,
I
comments?
have a comment.
Yes.
I think you'll find that the document is pretty much clean all the way through. You know, I was on the previous commission, and I forget the lawyer's name, but we walked through it every piece of the way. And so the document that ended up was pretty much vetted. So, you know, it's just a matter of spending the midnight hours to go over what we did and for you to assure us that everything is okay. And don't be intimidated.
Well, I'm not going to be intimidated, and I like your optimism. And
Yeah, let's be optimistic about all this. All right.
Thank you. Some of us are realistic, so we appreciate the work. We are gonna go ahead and read the resolution. Vice Chair, Williams, can you read the resolution, please?
Resolution of.
What's your mic on?
Resolution to approve, can you pronounce these names for me?
Hafley, Starin, and Christ.
Okay, PC to serve as legal counsel. Whereas the 2022 Charter Revision Commission of the City of Pontiac, also known as the Commission, is a public body organized pursuant to the affirmative vote of the people of the City of Pontiac at an election held Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021, to propose certain revisions to the city charter of the City of Pontiac. The current charter is being effective of May 3rd, 1982. And whereas the Charter Revision Commission seeks the assistance of legal counsel to review its proposed changes to the City of Pontiac Charter, and whereas, can you pronounce those names again?
Hafley, Starin, and Christ.
PC has submitted a proposal to provide legal services to the Pontiac Charter Revision Commission, and whereas Hafey,
Starin,
and Chris, PC attorneys, have extensive local government law experience, including serving as legal counsel to the City of Clawson Charter Commission. And whereas the City of Pontiac allocated $25,000 in the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget for legal services for the Charter Commission, now therefore be it resolved, the Pontiac Charter Revision Commission approves Hafey, Starin, and Chris, PC, to serve as his legal counsel at an hourly rate of $200 an hour, not to exceed $25,000. I make a motion.
A motion has been made.
So moved.
It's been made by Williams and supported by Stewart. Roll call.
Discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry, discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin, Williams,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Payne. 8 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We look forward to working with you, and we'll get you contact information and what we have completed already by Wednesday of next week.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the commission. I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
And while it would be great to have it in one document, given the urgency, if it has to come first half, second half, I think that's probably advisable in this circumstance. But I would leave it to you. And thank you for your time this evening, and I hope you all have a nice evening.
Thank
You
you.
too.
All right. Excuse me. Next, we are going to talk about recommendations from the mayor. All right, he is not here. Won't he do it? Communications from Councilwoman Kathleen James regarding park protection for the charter, and it was the elected official orientation. Were individuals able to review those documents?
I did the park plan, not the orientation.
Stewart?
I would like to consider maybe pushing this one to next week so that we do have a little bit more time. We did just get it yesterday.
Oh, can you say the next meeting?
The next meeting is January.
Just say the next
Next meeting, sorry.
All right, so it has been moved to postpone this to the next meeting. Supported by Williams. Oh, that's okay. No, we are gonna go over it. So for the communications from Councilwoman James, it has been moved to postpone it to the next meeting. It was moved by Stewart and supported by Williams. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Payne, Ramsey.
Yes.
8 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. A discussion on the deadlines for the governors, for the dates for the governor. Williams.
Madam Chair, we discussed this extensively at last meeting, but I just wanted it to be in the packet for this meeting, since we didn't have a meeting going over the holiday, just so everybody would be clear on the timeline. I think we just discussed that with the legal counsel as far as what the dates are.
Thank you. So what was stated was the date was February 14th, that it had to be into the governor's office. The email correspondence that we received from the governor's office states that the review time and historical guidance has recommended materials be submitted 60 to 90 days prior to the filing date to ensure significant time for review. And so this is why we have to have it in by the 14th. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding that communication?
It's coming up fast.
Yes, it is. All right, thank you. Our next item is discussion and approval dates of the Charter Revision Commission meeting for 2024. So right now, we have every Thursday, starting this Thursday. So every Thursday from 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. I am going to ask that we may have a Saturday. With the weather being as what it is, in the evening times, we might not have quorum or people coming late, and I think we just need to have time to, a longer period of time to go through things. We have a couple of things that we need to revisit in the beginning, and so I am asking that we may do 1 or 2 Saturdays.
I concur.
And I literally mean 1 or 2 Saturdays. So I am asking for the 13th and the 20th, if we need the 20th.
Could I?
This Saturday? Am I the no, okay.
I would say next Saturday, maybe start, and then,
Well, I think we gotta get some document to the attorney, so I would think we'd probably do the next 2 Saturdays, Madam Chair. So, that would be
but do we need a formal meeting to get that done, or do we just need someone to sit and,
the 20th and the 27th. No, I'm
oh,
just saying.
the next two,
that
sorry, got
he
it.
may have some things to
Got
actually
it,
give
okay.
us
Got it.
versus having a meeting.
Got it.
and we haven't
I thought you
given
meant this Saturday, I was like, we just
Okay,
need to get a document.
so we would do the 20th and the 27th, and then have every Thursday, so the 18th, the 25th, the 1st, and the 8th, with Saturdays, and then the Saturdays could be 10 to 2, like not too early, so if it snows, they can shovel and plow.
Yeah, I also think we probably need.
Okay, wait, let's get that.
No, I'm making a suggestion on the Saturdays. I think we should also add that first Saturday in February.
I agree.
And then we can cancel it if we don't need it, but we probably need to put it so people can clear their calendar, so we would have a quorum.
So the 20th, the 27th, and the 3rd.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I have a feeling over 2 weeks, right? He may get us stuff by a certain standpoint, but there may be additional recommendations, and we need to probably hash those out. We may have a time where we need to hash out a bunch of things on the 3rd, is my feeling on that. Because then that leaves us 1 week to really finalize everything, and then it's the 14th from there.
Okay, so we have January 20th, January 27th, and February the 3rd from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And if we don't need the meetings, we can cancel the meetings. Any further discussion?
You have one?
You got something? Don't be scared.
I think we're just keeping the rest of the year as it is right now. Say that again?
Put it in the charter. All right.
I think we're keeping the other one,
Keeping what other ones?
the rest of them, because she said we.
Oh, yes. And if we don't need them, we can cancel, right?
Exactly.
Yes. All right, Ibarra. Okay.
I do have just
Stuart.
one thought. Would it be good, and we can do this at a later one, but I'm just bringing it up, is I just worry about our next meeting if we don't get it done on the 8th. Like, if something happens, I
On
feel
the
like
8th
we
of
need
what?
it of February.
Oh, no. Let's worry
It
about
should
that.
be, but I just worry about, like, should we just try to make an emergency one just to be?
No, I think by the
Okay.
27th, if we aren't feeling good, we can do something,
Okay.
make an emergency,
Okay.
a special meeting.
So I just maybe keep your schedules.
Yes.
All
All
to
right.
be free,
So can I get a move to add Saturday, January 20th, Saturday, January 27th, and Saturday, February 3rd, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. For the Charter Revision Commission to meet in council chambers.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Stewart and supported by Ibarra. Roll call.
Commissioner Turpin. Williams.
Yes.
Ibarra.
Yes.
Burrows.
Yes.
Garrett. I'm sorry, Killian.
Yes.
Payne. Ramsey.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
8 yeas, no nays.
All right, thank you. Okay, What?
Is that over there?
That was mine.
Oh, it was yours. Okay. It honestly came from so many directions.
I would like to, I need some help with this because I don't know how to make this formal. The next item is to start at chapter 7. I would like to go back to the beginning to check to see what we postponed. Because if we need to get him the first half of the charter, then we need to, I know there were some items that we pushed. So we need to go back and get them. Y'all get what I'm saying? How you say that?
I think we need to codify the changes that we have made originally to the charter, starting at the beginning. So the clerk could have a document that you give to the law firm.
Well, she got a document.
No, I'm saying, you asked me how to say it. That's what, I was just saying it in a way that would be,
But do we need to go back through every single one of them? Or just the ones that we hadn't made a decision and pushed it off? Because there were some, we pushed it off. Yeah. Okay.
It might just be good to. I don't know.
I'm not finna go through this whole document
No,
with
no,
y'all.
no, no, no. I wasn't gonna say
I'm not
that.
gonna do that.
I was gonna say.
Finish it.
Well, I was gonna say maybe
then
it's
go
good to
back.
finish. Yeah. Like, my thought is, I don't know that like how we gonna do that?
Well, because we have 4.504, 5.201, 5.205 that have all, the entirety of chapter 6 have been tabled. So if we give him a document, it's gonna have to cut off before this.
I'm just wondering if we missed any along the way besides that, and if it would be better to. I just wonder if it would be better to say, like, that when Sheila puts the full document together next Thursday, go through that and note the changes that we didn't make it. Like, have her still just note that and, like, have him not review those specific, like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think about the best process.
Yeah.
I worry about if we have things that we missed along the way that, like, aren't on our, like, written list about things that we skipped or delayed. That's all.
Were people taking notes? I tried to keep up with what we tabled as much as possible. I mean,
Yeah.
really, like, we need to, if we do it how we're talking about right now, we stop at chapter 4, right? And we don't give him anything until chapter 7, which is what we're on right now. So if that's what we want to give them and let them work on that now, that's fine. If that's what we're saying. that we just go ahead and finish it, give them up to chapter 3, because that's section 3. That's where we stopped at, and then finish it off, and then give him what we finished in 2 parts.
I think that makes sense. And then it gives us the opportunity to look and see if there's anything other that we missed that we can hash out in the earlier sections. I mean, part of it was also because we were waiting for the mayor's recommendations on some things in those sections too. I don't know how that process will go.
Any other comments or suggestions around this? So we have 2 different ways we could finish it. Stop at chapter 3. So stop at chapter 3. Yeah, so we,
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
who was this for?
You.
Oh,
Last meeting.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I printed, I don't know. So we can do it 2 ways. We can, if we continue at chapter 7, we would be able to give the attorney up until chapter 4. Chapter 4 is the last chapter with nothing that was tabled. Chapter 5, we have 4.504 that was tabled. 4.504, yeah, so chapter 5 is where we started with the tabling. Under the fire protection services, the powers of the fire chief. I think that's what we were waiting for the mayor.
Yes.
So we would have up to chapter 4 to give to him. Then we would do chapter 7, revisit chapter 5 and chapter 6 and chapter 7. So we would give him that half, and then we would complete the other half and give that to him as well.
I think that
Go ahead.
I think that makes sense just because there are things that we are waiting on, and I think we have to harp on making sure that we get the mayor's recommendations ASAP.
Well, he was on the agenda today. Where he
Right.
at?
Right.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
precisely. So, I think we don't have a choice. We need it by next week. You know what I mean? And because then we can have a real conversation around the things we tabled. We can't have that conversation because those were questions we asked, right?
Okay. Any
So that's
other,
fine, yeah.
any other suggestions? People agree with that? Comments? All right. Y'all can talk. Y'all not gonna be happy with me up here looking like no angry black woman. Okay? All right. Okay, so we are going to start at chapter 7. I also have another question, though.
Oh.
You want me to get you a whole punch? Do we need to vote on giving the law firm the first chapters 1 through 4? Or can we just give it to them?
Madam Chair,
ahead.
I don't think we should vote on any of that. I think whatever information he asked for, we should be able to give to him as it's produced, because if we start the precedent of voting to give him something, then we would have to take a vote to give him additional information.
Okay, see, that's why I was asking. So we can get him chapters 1 through 4. All right, so now we are starting at chapter 7. Stuart,
I just want to make a note. You'll see in the back of your packet, this was the section that I spent a lot of time on,
I
making some
looked at that. That's
recommendations.
what you emailed?
Yep. Most of the things, yeah, it's in the back of the very back.
We waited on you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Yep. It's like I listened it in the last meeting. my general thought on this is that there were not a ton of changes I made in the first section, but I did, I know one of the conversations we've been having is on public integrity. And so that is a chapter that I included, but I think we can, just wanted to make sure that people saw, because there are a couple changes I think I made in the general language.
All right, so we are using the 2023 charter revision for Chapter 7 and Commissioner Stewart's recommendations, which are at the back of your packet.
And I added chapter 3, which was all about the Board of Ethics, and expanded that section as well.
Okay, but you said Chapter 3?
Chapter 3, which is section 7, chapter 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so does everybody have, it starts at page 2, it's the last 12 pages, 11 pages at the back of your packet. Does everybody have that? Oh, note 1 is 13. 11, I'm sorry?
Page 5 is where ethical standards starts. Earlier is some on city council and something else. So, yeah, page 5 of that last section. So where it says provisions on ethical standards, that's underlined, Article 7, Ethics and Public Integrity, Chapter 1, General Ethical Standards.
Okay, I'm confused.
It's this page here.
I see what page it is. So are we saying that's gonna be 6.701? We at Chapter 7, right? Did we do a little bit more?
So it's...
Rules of
Sorry.
Okay.
Because then that goes into...
102.
Oh, here.
Right here.
This is why, yeah. Because that's where section 7 starts.
So it's 101.
Yep, so
Okay.
I just kind of copied and pasted from that.
Okay. Okay. So my question is, we've started on Chapter 7 and we've did 701, 702, 703.
I think 7.101 is what we did. But not 7.1. 7.102 is where they stopped.
Okay. Let's act like we go together for a minute. Stop right here.
Yep, okay, cool.
Okay, so we did these, is what I'm asking.
So we're on section 7.
Okay, so we did do
So this
those.
would be chapter 1 of, yeah.
Okay, so I just
then-
wanted to make
Yeah.
sure we did
It's,
those.
yeah, the chapter and section is where
Okay.
we're getting confused on.
Yes, okay. So
Or article,
we've
whatever.
done pages 2, 3, and 4 already.
So we didn't do anything on these yet.
Right, but 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, so you'll want to
Okay.
go to 5, yep.
Of the end of the packet, all the way at the back. So if you go from the back and go from pages 12 all the way up to page 1. Yeah. So just work your way to the front. And from my understanding, we've already covered the items on pages 2, 3, and 4, which are 6.701, 6.0702, and 6.703. We are starting at 7.101.
It was, but just making sure there's, yes. No, you're right, Commissioner Payne. I don't think I made any changes, so I think we can start at 7.102. It sounds like they approved
Okay.
7.101.
Okay, you didn't make any changes here?
I didn't make any changes.
Okay. So does anyone else have any changes to 7.101?
We did that last week.
Yep,
Okay,
so we're good. So 7.102.
okay, so 7.102,
So everybody should be on page 6.
page 6.
Good.
All right. Commissioner Stewart, what are your changes?
I don't think I had any on that one. I thought it was comprehensive. so
Okay.
I think we're-
Does anyone have any changes to 7.102 disclosures? Okay, 7.103 lobbying, registration, and reporting.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
We need to go back and vote on.
Well, I was, but she wasn't here, so I was just gonna see if we could combine 7.102 and 7.103. I'm ready. I came ready today.
I'm ready.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to accept 7.102 as is?
Support.
Moved by Williams, supported by Stewart. Roll call.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Payne, Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin.
We.
Can I make one quick note?
8 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. You gonna get cussed out. Go right ahead, sir.
This chapter, or this section, or Article 7, does not have chapters. It was just laid out by each provision.
Yes.
So what I did was I added Chapter 1, General Ethical Standards, to the top, which I think would still be a good thing to do, because I do think there will be like a Chapter 2, whatever, if we decide to go forward. So I think adding Chapter 1, General Ethical Standards would be good.
Okay,
Right, because I don't think that's...
say that again.
So this is just Article 7, Ethical Standards. Then it doesn't have any chapters. It's just straight up all the provisions. Right? What I'm asking and saying is we should add Chapter 1, General Ethical Standards.
Okay,
so
but
that
wouldn't
it's-
this be chapter?
This isn't, this is a whole, this is from Article 6.
But look, oh.
This is from
oh,
Article 6.
Article 6, so this
So
is
this
Article
is
7.
Article 7, Chapter 1. That's what we
Okay.
should, that's what
Oh,
you and, that's what you and I
that's
did now, yeah.
Yes, that's why I'm like,
So
wait.
ignore these ones.
Okay, so there's no chapters.
There's no chapter.
Okay,
So all I'm saying is to add at
Yes.
the top, chapter, or,
for
whatever.
each issue, for
Yep.
each topic, add a chapter.
So for this one, it'd be Chapter 1, General.
Yes,
General
that go help him
Okay.
understand that. Thank you.
So,
Okay.
so this is not how it's laid out in the actual charter. In the actual charter, if you just let me flip the page real quick, it just says this is where the articles start, right? So it just starts with doing the articles, but I think we should split it up by chapters. So all I'm asking is for us to add a Chapter 1, General Ethical Standards. Make sense? Because then,
If anybody reads it.
well, more formatting
For
than anything, but I
continuity.
know each one is important. So.
Okay, thank you.
Sound good, everybody? Everybody
So
got it?
I am going to say chapters as we're voting for things. So Article 7, Chapter 1, ethical standards.
Yep.
Okay.
Chapter 1 is ethical standards. Chapter 2 is.
So Kermit has made the motion that we add the header. I support.
All right, it's been moved to add the chapters for each header in Section 7, in Article 7. Roll call.
Commissioner Ibarra,
Yes.
Burrows, Killian,
Yes.
Payne, Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
8 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. So we are on lobbying.
I'll just walk through. Just noting in here, I think what I added on here, maybe, is in C, I added as approved by ordinance. I just thought it would be good to note that I don't think there is an ordinance on that now. So
Okay.
a general change. So I move to add,
So it's worded differently, so I'm gonna need you to read it, because it is worded differently than
is
what
it worded differently?
it is.
It is worded differently.
I
Look at that. Okay. So lobbying registration and reporting, 7.103. To the extent permitted by law, lobbyists shall register, file reports, and pay fees. A lobbyist is defined by this charter, who lobbies within the city government shall be required to register within the city and file a report of his or her lobbying activity with the city and its personnel. I don't think that's a change. B, all documents filed by lobbyists shall be filed with the city clerk, be a public record, and additionally published electronically or by other formats as to provide access to the reports. Is that the same as it?
Yes.
Okay, what I probably did was just added A, B, and C to make
Well,
it
and
nicer
then to
read.
the extent
And then
permitted
C,
by
yeah.
law, and then C, yeah.
And then C, I added a fee may be assessed to each lobbyist as approved by ordinance. Support.
It's been moved by Williams and supported by Stewart. Roll call. 7.103. As read by Stewart and provided in the document.
Commissioner Burrows,
Yes.
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 Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Ibarra.
Yes.
8 yeas, no nays.
All right, 7.104.
Gift and gratuities. I kept that one the same.
All right, does anyone have any changes on 7.104? Is there a motion to approve 7.104 as is?
Motion to approve. Support.
It's been moved by Killian and supported by Ibarra. Roll call.
Commissioner Killian,
Yes.
Payne. Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Burrows.
Yes.
8 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. 7.105. 1 year post-employment. Is there any changes here?
No.
Any changes to 7.105? Is there a move to accept as is?
I'll move it.
Support.
Moved by Williams, supported by Stewart, to keep it as is. Roll call.
Commissioner Killian,
Yes.
Payne. Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
8 yeas, no nays.
7.105, I'm sorry, 7.106.
This one. I forgot to add that one.
Okay.
So will be 7.106 will actually be contracts voidable and rescindable. That is what is in the current charter. That I did not make changes on. I just went too fast and didn't include it.
Okay.
So I don't have any changes on that one. I think we can keep it.
Does anyone have any changes for 7.106?
I'll move.
Moved by Williams,
Support. Oh,
support by Killian to approve as is. Roll call.
Commissioner Payne. Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
yes.
Turpin,
I'm getting lost here.
7.106.
If you look in the, no, it's in the 2013.
It is the
Turn off the here now.
2013 charter.
One was missed. One was missed.
There's just one thing that was missed.
And
Stewart
so,
didn't include it in the new.
so you need to
You're working
look,
off of this paper, not off of the,
We're off the charter at this one provision was missed off when I copied it to the paper. That's why.
so contracts voidable and rescindable,
106.
7.106 in the book, 2013.
Okay.
So,
That's not on this.
no, sir, it was accidentally left off.
Okay.
So we're approving it as is from the 2013 charter.
So we're approving 7106.
Yes. Contracts voidable,
If it's on the old one, I approve.
okay. So then you would say yes when the clerk calls your name.
Yes, ma'am.
There you go. Add contract.
Yes.
Thank you. Williams,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
8 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. 7.107, campaign activities. I am going to call the appropriate number, but it may confuse people. Stop.
Thank you.
Stop Scott if it does. Don't talk to me. Okay, 7.107, campaign activities. Is that this, did you change anything?
No.
All right. Does anyone have,
Yes, I have.
Commissioner Williams.
I have changes. So if we look at it where it says campaign activities, it says appointees, appointed officers, and employees are prohibited for engaging in campaign activities using city property or engaging in such activities during working hours. I think we need to be explicit in saying that it should be no use of city property, period. So it's not that they're just using it during city hours, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So split that up, maybe.
So read it as you would like it. Hold on, let me record. I'm gonna say what Scott did was helpful too. Typed it up, had it ready. Okay.
I didn't think this was gonna be a change until I read it.
All right, you ready? Hold on.
Okay. Appointees, appointed officers, and employees are prohibited from engaging in campaign activity using city property, period. Or
Oh, wait.
or engaging in political activities during work hours.
Okay, read the whole thing all over again. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, go.
Appointees, appointed officers, and employees are prohibited from engaging in campaign activities using
Your mic. That's fine.
using city property, period. Engaging in political activities during working hours, period.
Or engaging in such activities during working hours.
Yes, during working hours.
I would.
I don't think.
Okay, good.
Friendly amendment.
Okay, hold on.
Just take the period out, just leave semicolon up. If you're gonna use.
Both
city-
of those.
I mean, if you're saying you're stopping at the city, that includes during the hours, right? Because we're on city property, period.
No. So what I'm talking about is there's been incidents where chairs and other things have been used that were city property at political events for people that were campaigning. What it reads to me as now is that it's saying employees or appointees cannot use it while they're doing work hours. But at 5:05,
And I get that. But what I'm saying to you, once you put city property,
Well, we
you
ready.
need,
the people are not property.
okay, so if you're talking about the persons itself,
So I'm talking, there's two things. They're talking about the property and they're talking about the people.
okay.
So I don't know how to say that. So I'm open
All right,
to
I got
suggestions
what you're
on how to wordsmith it.
All right, so we are wordsmithing it, but we know the intent of what we're trying to say. So who, you got it, Brian?
I think it's,
Okay, wait, I'm gonna record you. You got it? Turn your mic on.
I believe I have it.
Okay, go.
Appointees, appointed officers, and employees are prohibited from engaging in campaign activity using city property, semicolon, or such, city employees shall not, use any city property during any, activity during working hours.
Can I make a friendly amendment?
Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead, Stuart. Hold on, I gotta record you.
Okay, I'm just gonna make this easy.
Talk louder.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yep. So my suggestion is appointees, appointed officers, and employees are prohibited from engaging in campaign activities using city property. Period. Engaging in political activities during working hours is prohibited. Period. I think that makes it clear both ends,
Does
right?
that cover everything, Commissioner Williams?
Yes, and then we just need to add that same language to the next sentence also, Scott.
The mayor and the city council members are prohibited from soliciting appointees.
I have a question. If you're saying, you said at first, you didn't want it just at 5 o'clock, then they could do it. With just what Scott said and I said, pretty much allows them to do it at 5 o'clock anyway. So should it just say?
Well, you can't stop somebody from working on your campaign, Brian. Like, we're on the charter commission. If somebody from the city said, we want to support the charter, at 5:05, they can do that. What I'm saying, and what I wanted to separate that was not separated is that there is no time in which you can use city property to do these things.
Okay.
no matter what it is.
For clarification.
Yeah, so
Just making sure.
that's the clarification.
Gotcha.
So this table of, this diet should not be used to do that stuff.
All right, so Williams, you said we need to change the second paragraph.
Can you read? Kermit?
Yeah, so I'm saying the mayor and city council members are prohibited from soliciting appointees, appointed officers, and employees to work on political campaign activities or financially contribute to the campaign using city property or during working hours.
And you want to change that?
Yes, to what's, to the verbiage that Scott used on the first one, so. The same, just want to have the same verbiage on both of them.
I'm just.
You know what the verbiage
Hold on 1
is?
second. I'm just looking.
You recorded it.
I just want to. I'm just getting where he. Yeah. Hold on. So. The mayor and city council members are prohibited from soliciting appointment to work on political campaigns or financially conducted campaigns using city properties. Okay. So.
Such activity during working hours, political, should be there.
Well, I think I confused myself, but I got it now. So I want to keep that sentence that they have, but it doesn't speak to the mayor and the council. So what I want to make an amendment at the beginning is saying the mayor and city council members, appointees, appointed officers, and employees are prohibited from engaging in campaign activities using city property.
Yep.
Period. Engaging in political activity during working hours. Period.
Is prohibited.
It's
Yep.
prohibited. Right.
Agreed.
That's
Yep.
what I want to say.
That makes
And then-
sense,
then
Kermit.
the rest of it will flow.
Will flow.
That's why I wrote it down because I was like,
Because the way it reads
Yep.
is they can not order people to do it. But
Yeah.
there's nothing
Right,
that
but they can
says
do
that
it.
they can't do it themselves.
Correct.
And I was trying to figure out how to say it.
yep, that makes sense, Kermit.
All right, so Commissioner Stewart, if you could read, okay, wait.
Sure.
So is there any other changes you have, Commissioner Williams? Okay, Commissioner Stewart, if you could read the entirety of 7.107.
Oh, I keep putting my shit. Okay.
Did you type it already, or do I need to record you?
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. So 7.107 campaign activities. The mayor, city council members, appointees, appointed officers, and employees are prohibited from engaging in campaign activities using city property, period. Engaging in political activities during working hours is prohibited, period. Capisce?
Okay. Oh, okay.
I gotta read it out. Okay. The mayor and city council, the mayor and city council members are prohibited from soliciting appointees, appointed officers, and employees to work on political campaign activities or financially contribute to campaigns using city property or during working hours. No appointee, appointed officer, employee, or contracted entity can be required or pressured to work on or financially contribute to campaigns as a condition of their hiring or continued employment.
All right, so it has, is there a move?
I move it. Support.
It's been moved by
Discussion.
Williams, supported by Killian. Discussion, Payne.
I really like the way.
I need you to turn your mic on.
Sorry. I really like the way that Scott had entered this, because what it does is breaks up and it's clear. But just adding on B, appointee. What did you say, Scott? Appointees, appointee officers. Adding that up in B, the first sentence where it says the mayor and city council members, and then comma, and then appointees, and then comma again, and appointed officers are prohibited, and then going down A, and then he discusses that, B, and then C. It just makes it real clean.
Thank you. Is any other discussion? roll call to approve 7.107 as read by Commissioner Stewart.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yeah.
Turpin,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Payne. I didn't hear you.
No.
7 yeas, 1 no. Nay.
All right, 7.108.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So that's where I took off and put that into a separate section because I added this in.
Okay. Okay. So you added a chapter 2
Yep.
after 7.107.
Yes. In my notes, I talked about the Office of Public Integrity, which is a conversation we've been having. I added in a bunch of language that would be for that. Do we feel like we want to go through that right now?
Yes.
Okay.
So we are
Okay,
on page
cool.
8 of the packet.
Okay, so procedurally, Madam Chair, do we need to just strike section 7.107?
Well, I mean, it would be
I mean,
7.108.
Yeah, 7.108.
Is this in another
It
chapter?
is. Yeah.
Okay.
I did keep some of that language in chapter 3, which would be the Board of Ethics.
Okay,
on my
so
list.
7.108 you have in chapter 3. What about 7.109?
I made some modifications.
But that's still here.
Yeah, I think so. They might just be named different. So 7.301 would be Board of Ethics creation and membership.
Oh, this is, okay.
So that's like, see how I.
Okay, so,
modified that, yeah.
so he's taken 1.108 and 109 and created a whole chapter with it.
But that's what I'm saying, so for just flow of the, so we would just strike those two. So what I'm saying, for the clerk's notes, it would stop at the end of 7.107,
Yep.
and then it would start chapter 2.
Yes.
Correct.
But we're not striking it because we're not removing it. We're just moving it somewhere else.
But you're not moving it in its entirety.
Could we strike it and then just add the provisions within chapter 3? Like, could we just do something like that where we've been adding?
So
Yeah.
we,
What I'm saying is if we're
On my
adding
list.
chapter 2, then there
Yeah.
is no more 7.108 or 7.109.
That makes sense.
Right.
So I'm just saying, just for clarity's sake and for us to follow along, we
Yep.
could just add chapter 2, and then we would know that at the end, 7.107 is the end of that. And then we go into the whole Office of Public Integrity.
right, okay, I get that. So we're saying, we're just gonna, for clarity's sakes, we're gonna vote to strike 7.108 and 7.109.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I would need a motion.
So moved.
Support.
So it's been moved by Stewart and supported by Williams to strike 7.108 and 7.109. Discussion.
Just,
So-
for-
so-
oh, go ahead.
Oh, hold on. Killian and then Turpin.
Turpin was first. He was just slow.
So we're striking these in favor of something that's contained in this chapter 2?
Yes.
We haven't discussed what's in chapter 2 yet.
Regardless, I think we should add a chapter, if that's 2, and we decide to not go with the one that's currently there. But there is a chapter, regardless, we're gonna need a chapter that talks about Board of Ethics. I thought it was good to separate that from the chapter 1, which was general provisions. So I think it's good to, because regardless, the numbering will change. The numbering would be 7.201 or 7.301, where we talk about Board of Ethics. So that's what Kermit's saying is, we're gonna have to strike it anyway, because the numbering is gonna be different.
What you're doing is inserting the chapter, because we talked about an office of integrity, right?
So yes, the plan is to add those back in, but at a later time. So, but it's much easier for us to say,
You know, the essence of both of these things is to include some sort of ethical standard by which we operate.
And that's what
And so, like,
Scott is
you know,
doing.
you're-
He's
you're
just
asking-
moving
You're
it.
asking me to disregard what is already part of our ethical creation in favor of this that I haven't even read it yet. I don't know how to do that and just drop something before I've understood what the replacement is.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Thank you. Killian.
Scott answered my question.
Okay. So is it possible we can go over chapter 2 before we,
I think I would suggest, I feel like that's going to be a longer conversation. So, as a note, this was provided in November. So, please read it. That is why I tried to provide it earlier. We just didn't get to it earlier. The Board of Ethics is a chapter that I wrote separately. The reason why I wrote that separately is because it was separate. It's creating a whole board that has to have processes, right? And so I created that separately that has the provisions that we're talking about, right? And so that's in what I had deemed chapter 3. If we have the decision that we can move that to chapter 2 and have these provisions in there. The reason why I had that one second versus the public integrity, or third versus the public integrity one, is because when I wrote how the Board of Ethics works, I included the public integrity officer. So there may be provisions that would change when you get to chapter 3 Board of Ethics. Does that make sense?
it does. I'm trying to figure out how to
Navigate it.
yes,
Yeah.
and I hear what Commissioner Turpin is saying. And this was provided, but direction to read it probably wasn't, I guess, given. But if you look at 7.108 and 7.109, and if you look at page 11, Commissioner Turpin, you would start seeing the exact same language as in those two, I don't know if it's called the article or sections, those two sections.
Madam Chair,
Oh,
just,
hold on. You see it, Commissioner Turpin?
I'm working on it.
Okay. Let me know when you found it. Can you help me borrow? Oh, okay.
I'm looking on page 8, and now I'm on
Page 11. On page 11.
11.
Page 11.
What, we jumped over to 11 from 8?
Well,
11 has-
I'm just telling you, because you're concerned about striking these two things without knowing that they're in here. But
Oh, yeah,
if you
yeah,
look
right,
at
right.
page 11, you can see some of the same words.
Same language.
Yes. So it's there. It's just moved.
Correct.
So
Well,
we
you're
just
not
want to.
striking it, then you're moving it.
Well, I said that, and they said strike it, so I was just like, I ain't finna be arguing with them about terminology, sir, and neither are you.
That
Put your
helps me
hand
a
down,
lot.
Scott. We are just going to strike it, and then we're just going to put it back in chapter 3. All right, you sound good. I'm gonna move on to Commissioner Williams.
I just call for the vote.
All right. So the vote is to strike 7.108 and 7.109. It was moved by who and supported by what?
Stewart and Williams.
Stewart and Woods. Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Garrett. You just walked in.
Just got here.
Killian. Payne. Ramsey.
Yes. All right, is there a move to add chapter 2?
Move.
Support, yeah.
So it's been moved by, by Williams and supported by Stewart to add chapter 2, Office of Public Integrity. Discussion.
This not in the old charter though, right?
No, sir. Stewart, can you give some historical guidance?
Yeah, so, because I don't believe Burroughs was here at the time, so that makes, so we'll fill you in. So what we've been thinking about and having conversations about, by all means, it's not 100% on either way, is if it would make sense to add what we are deeming a public integrity officer or an office of public integrity. It would be an individual that's heading that office that really is ensuring, rooting out waste, abuse, and fraud. So they are doing things like investigations. They are doing a variety of things. We've talked about this at a variety of meetings in heated ways, perhaps. And so these, if we are to go that route, these are provisions that we can discuss. And I wanted to give this because I know there were a lot of questions around what would that person do? What would that look like? All of those things, right? So I wanted to outline what are some provisions or things or responsibilities that that role would have, because I wanted to also note that it's not just them being on a witch hunt, right? It is them actually making sure that our city is spending things wisely, including making sure that contractors are appropriately doing their jobs, right? So that's kind of the pieces that we're looking at in that is that's what this is focused on. It talks about the establishment of the office, the appointment removal, terms of office, vacancies, all of what that would look like. It looks at minimum qualifications, which we can talk about. It looks at prohibited activities, which I think is something that I added specifically to make sure that they aren't going on witch hunts, right? You'll see provisions on their independence, retaliation, confidentiality, and immunity. There is pieces on that that I added in around meaningfully trying not to. So if let's say someone says something crazy about a council member or whatever, and they investigate it, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to get out to the public, right? So making sure that we have some due diligence on that. You'll see here provisions on funding, office staffing. So I think that's good for any of these things, like the Department of City Council, as we talk about, right, is to add in and make sure that it's separate from the budgets and that it's approved. There's things on reporting and transparency and consultation, and that's kind of the overview generally of what that would do. Again, these are not in there. We've never had that at the city. So it was a discussion around what could that look like.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion?
Madam,
Yes.
I see here in one of the sections, if you will, the public integrity officer and their staff shall be, to the full extent permitted by law, immune from any suit based on any report or communication within the scope of official duties. That's a good foundation. I guess my question would be, is there a fine line between is there a fine line between doing like a, like what is facts versus what is a smear job, if you will?
Oh, wait, before you answer
Yeah,
that, if we could get in, if we could approve actually having this section, then we can go go item by item, section by section to approve and ask questions, because I have some of those same questions as well.
Understood.
But we have to approve adding this to what we want our charter to be. So it's been moved by Stewart and supported by Williams. And this was discussion. I think that's, okay, moved by Williams.
Supported by Stewart.
Okay. Is there any other questions about the chapter altogether before so we can vote on it?
Yes.
The whole chapter?
The whole chapter, Office of Public Integrity?
Yes.
We're only a city of 80,000 potential residents. You're talking about creating a whole office and, what's it, secretary and officer and creating this budgetary item to be continually reviewing, our personnel and, what's going on and reports here and reports there. And we're not that big outfit, And then when you get to the Board of Ethics, there's some redundancy here. And I'm just not sure that, we have the wherewithal to afford that sort of a position in a town like Pontiac.
Thank you.
That's a lot of work that's listed here.
Continue, sir.
So, you know, that's just, I understand the need for ethical behavior, and I'm not knocking that, but, you know, when you go on to the Board of Ethics, you know, what's created here, it's a similar, sort of like a redundancy going on. And, you know, you're talking about creating a position, a person who has, I assume, full-time responsibility for, like, you know, reviewing things that are going on. And, you know, most of the time, they're going to be sitting around twiddling their fingers. I mean, you know, this is not a big 300, 400,000 person community that's going to have all kinds of things going on here and there, and someone having to oversee what's going on. This is, you know, we're only 60, 80,000 people, and there's not that much coming down the pipe to have someone full-time reviewing our ethical behavior.
Thank you. Thank you. Garrett,
And just for clarity, since this is live.
can you turn your mic on? Thank you.
Just for clarity, when it says live, if you do call for the vote, it must be seconded by someone, and the immediate vote must be taken according to Robert's Rules of Order. You just can't say call for the vote. And that was my clarity piece on that. Second piece of it is that, and I agree with Dr. Turpin to a certain degree as it relates to a city being this size, and that's why we do need an integrity officer and not an event planner. So we budgeted for an event planner in the city and not for an integrity officer. So people planning events can be done simply by just partnering with other people who are doing events in your city, bringing more recognition to that. The city itself, Parks and Recreation, just hired a manager. Well, not hired a manager, they hired a director, but then also have a manager that was doing director's positions or director things until you find out what a Parks and Recs person would do when we don't even have a dedicated plan for that recreation person to say specifically what they will do. And so it's just the way that we do manage the money, but the integrity officer will actually speak to those things that I just mentioned, because then it can be evenly spread out, evenly talked as we're going into the budgeting season for the city, to making sure that we are doing what we need to do as far as spending the funds that we do have. I was a part of Tuesday. Was a wonderful presentation through the finances that was coming in, and we do have a good stream of revenue starting to come in, trickle in, things of that nature. But again, it is also looking at what's important. I think the charter needs an integrity officer, because the Board of Ethics is one thing, but when they come up with, hey, this has been violated, who actually does that work? And you can't put that back into the hands of the people that they believe is violating it. And so I do agree with this chapter. Just wanted to put that out there, that in this particular position that needs to be added. Thank you.
I'd like to call a second on Kermit's calling for the vote.
Thank you. So it has, a call for the vote has happened.
Now you can vote.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, nope, not today, not today. Roll call.
Commissioner Turpin? No. Williams?
Yes.
Ibarra?
Yes.
Burrows? Yes. Garrett?
Yes, ma'am.
Killian?
Yes.
Payne? Ramsey?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 nay.
All right, look at that. All right, so we are going on chat. Look, y'all got me checking my calendar to see if I can just go home and drink and not work in the morning. Chapter 2, Office of Public Integrity, Section 7.201. Stuart, drink some water because you're going to be talking. All right. Huh?
I'll start, Jose, and then I'll pop to you.
Okay, y'all gonna tag team.
Yeah, we're gonna
All
tag
right.
team. All righty, 7.201, Establishment of Office. There shall be established an independent Office of Public Integrity, OPI, within the government of the City of Pontiac. The Public Integrity Officer shall head the office. The purpose of the Office of Public Integrity is to ensure honesty and integrity in city government by rooting out waste, abuse, fraud, and corruption.
All right. So is there a motion to accept section 7.201?
Support.
So it's been moved by Garrett and supported by Stewart. Discussion. I have a question.
Sure.
Is this the same as the ombudsman?
It serves similar roles, yeah.
Okay, and then it says it's an independent office, so it doesn't fall under the legislative or the administration?
Correct.
Executive?
Yep.
Okay,
And that I looked at some structures in other cities. It's good to be that independent piece, so it kind of opts as a third arm, if you will.
yeah, but who they boss?
The people. I think that goes into some of the vacancy in terms of removal from office pieces.
Okay,
So there are provisions in there, right? So their boss, technically, I think, and that's why I wanted to add, I think the connection to the Board of Ethics is important, right? Is because technically they're the person who is running that,
Okay.
helping that group. So I think that's kind of the ways in which you would get that through, right?
all right.
They have to have 3/4 council removal, right? Like that's, you add in those provisions so that it's hard to get them out, but I think we can revolt and,
Okay.
you just revolt with your city council people. But the goal is to get it harder to remove because, if they do an investigation, they could rally,
Right.
right? Like, but the reality is this has to be a position that is harder to get out. So
All right,
go ahead.
thank you.
Yep.
Killian, who? Commissioner Payne, and then Killian.
I was kind of going to comment on what Stuart was looking at, and I see it as a quality, kind of a quality control.
Turn your mic on, please.
I was just going to comment with what Stuart had said, what had written in here, and what the idea of this is that it's, to me, it's like quality control. And normally, a quality officer does make sure that fundings are being spent in an appropriate way. It also makes sure that monies are not being wasted or we're writing up grants and things that are fraudulent or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what quality, and normally in most organizations, it's a quality control thing that oversees all of these things that are in here. And I'm wondering if we shouldn't put this, it's a great thing here, but I'm wondering if we shouldn't define it a little bit more rather than targeting, I wouldn't say negative, but using other words other than abuse or fraud or, saying something like making sure that the city is moving in the right direction and funds are being allocated in appropriate ways or something like that. I don't know, but that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Killian?
Yes, one question would be, how many people would be in this office?
So I did not put a limit or a guideline on that. I mean, on some level, it could be one person, right? Like it could be two. Like it doesn't. I don't think it's prescriptive of. I don't think we should make it prescriptive.
Hold on. Let Killian finish, and then we can go back to Payne.
And the other one is, you briefly, and maybe you answered it, but where's the checks and balances within this office? We was talking about control, and that's my biggest thing. If you're considering abuse of powers, they have to have a check and balance also, because that's where you really stop the abuse from happening too, because they could take this and it could be a personal attack. You know how this city is. So where do we have the infrastructure on stopping something like that? Or do we need to add this into further? And it's just a question, because I understand this is briefly going into it,
Right.
To get more teeth in it, so.
Yeah, great question. I think what I would note is probably some of the areas that you mentioned are probably in later provisions. I think in terms of removal and what that checks and balance looks like, one, I think they're under the provision or really are lockstep with the Board of Ethics. So I think that is critical, where we get that citizen input into the Board of Ethics. If those bodies believe that they need to be removed, that is where a vote of the council comes, right? So removal is by 3/4 of vote of the council. So really, that's their check and balance. They can be removed just like anybody else can be, right? But most, I think, people can be removed with a lesser amount. I made this as high as possible because they really should have a majority of people, right? It shouldn't just be a small rallying campaign. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that there's not an easy way to just get rid and go through this every day, right? The other thing that I'll note is that I think it's very important to still protect the people in office, right? Because as you said, right, there needs to be a check and balance. And so part of that is worked into making sure that there's confidentiality provisions around the reports until it's final, making sure there's a whole bunch of things that are in there that protect people if they're accused wrongly. Does that make sense? So like, let's say someone came in and said, city council did this. They can investigate it. Doesn't mean they have to finalize anything. That person has a right to respond to that. That person has a right to look into that. They don't have to publish everything, right? And so those are the things that I think as you look at their roles and responsibilities, I think, and what that looks like for the role, I think that we can put a major block on that. And I think that should be in the charter provisions itself, because that, I think, is, then the charter is blocking it, right? Then the charter is making sure that they can't do things inappropriately. So I think there's that balance there. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Turn your mic on, please.
Who would the public integrity officer, who would they answer to, or who keep an eye on them?
So the Board of Ethics is a big piece of that. The Board of Ethics will look at that. The City Council still has a role. The mayor still has a role in looking at them, but they are an independent office. Because there's no way realistically that they can report to one of those people without it being a conflict of interest. That's what we're looking at, right? Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry.
I guess more, I'm sorry.
No, I was,
Oh, no,
I
go
was like,
ahead.
I'm not the chair, sorry.
Okay, so,
We have discussion.
so I'm guessing more specific then, if that is the view, then and that's what I was trying to look in here, will the council and the mayor and the Board of Ethics have the ability to, if there was to be a issue with this particular office, who has the right to raise the flag of saying, we need to investigate this office, or this needs to come under, you know what I mean? I guess that's that check and balance that people are asking, because it's,
So maybe I would suggest, if we are comfortable with 7.101 or 7.201, we approve that, and then we start to get into some of these, because I think that's where a lot of your questions are, right?
yeah, I was just trying to find it. So
Yeah,
if you-
no,
okay,
you're good.
good.
I
I'm sorry.
just think it will help us with
Okay.
reading it through, and then,
Yeah.
because I want you all to have all the information,
Okay.
so.
Excuse me.
Yes,
How
Turpin.
how do you distinguish the role of this, I'm calling it an individual,
The integrity officer?
an integrity officer, with a board of ethics that is more of a, well, in our old 7.108, you got 2 people on the board of ethics from the city council, 2 by the mayor, and 1 jointly appointed. And you have this group which has a diverse origin that sit to decide on issues of ethics, integrity, et cetera. Similar to what this individual who is, floating around our city government looking for signs of graft and illegal behavior. And this person does.
Like Tuesday in the last administration, but go ahead.
Say what now? Tuesday in the
I
last.
said it was like a Tuesday with the last administration. You're acting like these things haven't happened.
No, I'm acting like, you just can't control
You can't
human
legislate
behavior.
corruption.
And so you can appoint somebody can be elected. And like he's saying, what happens when this integrity officer goes off the rails? You just can't have layer after layer after layer of like governmental appointed like watchdogs to watch the behavior of human behavior. So you already have, you have within your power to have the Board of Ethics. Shouldn't the Board of Ethics have the capability of doing the things that this individual has? That you have to create a whole department for? That you have to provide a salary for?
Well, maybe you can change it to the.
I'm not seeing the need in a city like the size of Pontiac to have another layer of watchdog for our behavior. You got a Board of Ethics. If citizens have a problem, you bring this thing before this Board of Ethics. They have a diverse background, where they come from. They look into whatever the accusation is, and, you make decisions based on that. But to have a person who you're paying full-time to be walking around sniffing and carrying on, looking for bad behavior, well, he's going to find a little something, but, it's not really, what you going to pay that guy or gal?
Hopefully a
How
full
can you
market
afford
rate
all that?
position.
I beg your pardon?
I said, hopefully we pay them the going market rate.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The going market rate may not be compatible with our going market income.
Well, as Commissioner Garrett said, maybe we can get rid of the event planner and just use this money for that.
Well, I don't know anything about all these other positions, but I'm just saying you're creating a position that I'm not necessarily convinced that has any real, will have any real effect on the behavior of our political class.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Yes. We've already voted on creating this office. I would ask that we start going through the document and actually voting on these individual provisions.
Thank you. So,
We're still in discussion on the first.
yeah, so is there any other discussion on 7.201? Roll call.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Payne, Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin.
No?
7 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you. 7.201.
I'm sorry, that's 8 yeas, 1 nay.
One nay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay. 7.202.
Happy to read this one and happy for suggestions and amendments by all means. 7.202, appointment, removal, term of office, and vacancy. A, the public integrity officer shall be appointed by a majority, 51%, of city council members serving for a term of 6 years. B, the public integrity officer may be removed for cause by a 3/4 vote of city council members serving. The public integrity officer may only be removed from the office for cause such as gross misconduct or incompetence. C, if a vacancy occurs in the office of public integrity, the city council shall, within 90 days, fill the office for a full term.
All right. Is there a move to accept this section? Moved by Payne. Is there support?
Support?
Support by Ibarra. Discussion. Williams, and then Ramsey, and then Payne.
Yeah, I would like to add a section D to that because it's a 6-year term and have any general recall provisions that are to any other elected official added. So then the people have a mechanism for getting rid of this person.
Perfect. So, adding that for the removal.
Turn your mic on, please.
Adding that to B for removal, you said?
Yes. So like
Okay.
a citizen actual vote, like as a recall, or
So that's D as in dog, or you want to add it to B as in boy?
D as in dog.
So he wants to add
Oh,
letter D.
add a letter D, sorry.
My thing was, I don't like the 6 years. That's too long.
I'm good with last.
I feel like it needs to, they need to be in 2 different terms. So, 3 different terms?
No, 3 years.
Oh, so I would say, let's say this person started next year. That's a year, a race year, right? Is that a mayor year?
No, they don't take office
26. So this person, so maybe 5 years. I would like it to encompass 2 different administrations, 2 different terms. So because it's like if I'm sitting here and I'm like I'm finna run and I want to get that person out of there, right? That person has another year, so at least we have some historical knowledge coming in from them. But 6 years seems a long time. Can we say 5? I'm at 5.
I mean, we got, the school board terms are now 6 years, I'm just saying.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't remember.
Oh, I got to complain about that. I didn't know that. We talking about this one, sir. I think 5 years is good. I don't know. I would like 5. I think 6 years is too long.
I'm comfortable with.
Does 6 years too much?
It doesn't matter, 5, 6, it don't matter. So,
Other,
Since it was brought up, I don't think 6 years is too long, and I do think 6 years shows your commitment to what you say you're going to do. And then if you decide to not do something within the 6 years and you change your mind, because people often do, then that can be questioned. But if you dedicate yourself something for 6 years and that's what you signed up for, typically I've known people to be in positions such as myself for 2 decades because that's what they decided to do. So 6 years is not too long enough of a period. And you should be dedicated to public office for that long.
I just feel like it was
Just
a whole
my
lot
opinion.
of shade coming in, but It was okay. I felt that. So, okay, I still think 6 years is too long. I'm like, if you want to keep, but this person isn't running; they're appointed. Because I'm like,
Right.
yeah, because I also feel like it should be people shouldn't run because then it's popularity. Okay, 6 years. I take that off. I'm good with 6 years. Killian. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Payne was next, and then Killian. Payne.
Well, my question was going to be the same as yours to Stuart to ask 6 years as opposed to 3 or 5 or 4. Is there a reason that you came up with the 6?
I think when I did research, it was like most of them focused on a term, an average of about 6 years. And I think to Tamika's point, I think that probably is for a reason of balancing administrations. Thinking about this is also an appointed position, right? So it is being an employee in many ways, right? It is an employee of the city. And so the hope is that that person will do a great job, get to know us, love us, and stay for longer if they do a good job, right? So, I do think that there is benefit to the 6 years around the elected official elections in terms of what they're overseeing.
Okay,
But
thank you.
again, I'm open to.
Thank you, Killian.
Yeah,
those after.
she had asked part of the question I was asking, which was, how did you determine it? And then my other question was, since it is 6 years or whatever term it is, that I would be looking for something that would lead to it. If you're going to be in 2 terms, how do we equally have this person in both terms? Because do you vote them in the beginning of 1 term, so it's 4 years of that term, and then only 2 of the other? So how do you equal that to where it's going to equal out that I can get this person there to be equally on both terms of these elections? Or can you do it, or we just,
Well, right, yeah.
you know what I mean? So that's the only question I had.
It's
And
a good
so Ms.
question.
Payne asked, the other one, how did you
Yeah.
come about it?
I think the challenge is, right, they could resign, right, in 2
Right.
years, right, and then you're still facing another 6 years. That's, I think, where in the provision, and again, I'm open to suggestions, but I think where I'm thinking is, in the provision, right, it says that anyone who's appointed to the next term in 90 days still has to serve a 6-year term. So they're looking for 6 years regardless, right? So, at some level, you can't control it, right? I mean, we could add but like then you think about it, right? If we said, hey, you got to appoint at the beginning of the 4 years, it just gets really messy with trying to be compliant, right? And so I think regardless, at some level, if they stay for a full 6-year term or more, they could stay for 12, right? 18, heck.
That's my other thing.
But yeah,
Is there a limitation to the?
we could put one, but
Okay.
I think that is a good question to ask as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully that answered.
Gary.
Go ahead.
Quick question, didn't we in the new revision as far as at-large seats for council, didn't we stagger those terms?
I don't
Did
think
those
so.
things?
No.
We did not.
That was just changing, okay.
Because of the timeline, we questioned.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We wanted to, but we
Yeah.
just didn't
We
think we
ran out of
could.
time, too much changes.
Okay, so right now, 7.202, are there any other questions or concerns? Discussion?
I agree with Kermit's provision. I'm trying to think of what the recall section number is. So maybe,
You didn't want to just add that to D? I mean,
I
add D?
was gonna say, like, as outlined in this section might be a good thing because we have the recall provisions
Oh,
for electeds and stuff. It's good to refer back, or maybe we can say as outlined in this charter.
yes.
Yeah, how about that? Okay.
Is that good for you, Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So maybe I have a recommendation on
Go.
updates. So we would be, I think the friendly amendment, which we can make maybe a formal motion on, I'm not sure, was to add a D and say, the public integrity officer is subject to recall provisions as outlined in the city charter.
We gonna have to say it?
Would love to hear your thoughts.
Where's the
Actually.
recall language?
That's the only thing I'm worried about is if they don't.
Do we have recall language?
There is in there somewhere. It's far away, yeah.
Okay, we gonna have to find it. So
Looks like Jose has a.
Commissioner Ibarra,
Chair Ramsey, I would like to rescind my support,
Okay.
as we were on a vote for discussion.
Because
okay,
he wants to add the provision, yeah.
okay. Who did the second? Oh, Garrett was the, was the,
Payne
was it Payne?
moved.
Oh, okay, wait, okay, so Payne moved. Payne, can you rescind your motion?
I rescind my motion.
All right, and then Ibarra rescinds his second. All right, so can you reread 7.202?
Yes. 7.202, appointment, removal, term of office, and vacancy. A, the public integrity officer shall be appointed by a majority, 51%, of city council members serving for a term of 6 years. B, the public integrity officer may be removed for cause by a 3/4 vote of city council members serving. The public integrity officer may only be removed from the office for cause such as gross misconduct or incompetence. C, if a vacancy occurs in the Office of Public Integrity, the City Council shall, within 90 days, fill the office for a full term. D, the Public Integrity Officer is subject to recall provisions as outlined in the city charter.
Moved by Williams. Support by Garrett. Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Burrows,
Yes.
Garrett,
Oh, that'd be good.
Killian,
Yes.
Payne, Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin, Williams, Ibarra.
Yes.
9 yeas, no nays.
All right, 7.203. You want Ibarra to read it?
No, I can do it, and then maybe I'll switch it. The big old section. 7.203, minimum qualifications. Again, please harp on this. The public integrity officer shall be a person who, 1, has a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution of higher learning, 2, has at least 5 years of experience in any one or combination of the following fields: as a federal, state, or local law enforcement officer; B, as a federal, state, or local government attorney, including a public defender; C, as a federal or state court judge; D, progressive supervisory experience in an investigative public agency, similar to an inspector general or public integrity office; and E, has managed and completed complex investigations involving allegations of fraud, theft, deception, and conspiracy. And sorry, that didn't have a space. F, has demonstrated the ability to work with local, state, and federal government law enforcement agencies and the judiciary.
Is there support? It's been moved by Williams, supported by Payne. Discussion.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Payne.
I was going to ask Stuart in regards to number one, that the having a bachelor's degree. Is there a reason that you put bachelor's degree? Because there's a possibility. So if someone has a master's degree, or perhaps some kind of law degree, or then.
It can be changed.
that-
I think, yeah, maybe an at least or,
But it says
Yeah.
minimum. It says minimum.
that's
I
true.
don't say, no, it doesn't.
The
That's what I
section
was-
says
The
minimum
section says
qualifications,
minimum
but-
qualifications.
Oh.
So I'm just assuming this is the bare minimum we would accept. Is that wrong?
Oh, okay. I didn't
Is
see
that
that.
wrong?
That's how I
Oh,
interpreted it.
that.
but-
Okay.
I apologize.
But I will note that these are all provisions that I think, deserve a great legal review. So, but I think that can be helpful. But
I think my suggestion, it says, have at least 5 years experience in any one or combination. If a person only had one of these, I would be like, no. So I don't want to say it's okay to just have one, or it needs to have at least 5 years of experience in any combination. So 2 or more of these, I would feel comfortable. So just taking out the in any one or, so any combination of 2 or more of these.
I think we could just say in combination, in any one combination, or, sorry, has at least 5 years' experience in any combination of the following fields.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Does that, Gil, I just wanted to maybe Commissioner Garrett. Question that I have maybe for you is there any concern, like, I don't want to limit the ability for like a community person or something like that that doesn't have a bachelor's per se, that is in the legal field? Should we consider, I don't know your thoughts on that, I don't know the qualifications, so.
So it does set it to a limit. Because a lot of times when you do get into law enforcement, a lot of these experiences that you have come on with the experience that you have in just going up through the chain of command. So it does limit that space. However, there's some other opportunities or other things that the public integrity officer would do. As you wrote out in some of these powers and duties and jurisdictions and things of that nature that I had a chance to look at, that will require them to have experience and a wealth of knowledge, both legally and politically,
Yeah.
to make sure that they can properly do. So it just, like I said, it just says minimum qualifications. If a person is hired with those 2 or more, it didn't say that they had to, or does it?
And maybe would it be wise, and I know Kermit has this, but maybe my thought is like we could say associates just so we don't, like that would be minimum, right? They can be higher ideally, right?
Yeah.
Because in a job description, you could say minimum, we require this. Ideally or preferred, we want someone with a
I
bachelor's.
like that.
So we could do
I
something
like that.
that.
Because when looking at all of the qualifications that you would want this person to have in these particular spaces,
Yep.
you would have to have, like, managing a complex investigation, meaning that you were a detective in a sense, that picked up that particular case and had to walk through that. And then also basically, definitely state and law enforcement officer, we want more than one,
Great.
for them to understand our rules, obligations, things of that nature.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Williams.
Just want to add to probably section G, or subsequent experience. And the only reason I say that is because if this charter lasts for another 40 years, there may be another field or something that they morph this into, and I don't want to limit it to just the scope of what we have right before us.
Could you say like related experience?
Yeah.
Or related field or experience?
Yeah, just because this is not an exhaustive list.
Yep.
And so, it might be something else
That's good.
that gets to that. just want to give them some room and flexibility so they don't have to chop this whole section out.
Madam
Thank you.
Chair,
That's good.
Yes.
I want to pose a question. Like, today, we don't have a officer of this nature, right?
Yes.
And if there were some allegations of fraud, say like in housing or something, what would happen?
I can say that during the last administration, there were a multitude of allegations of fraud and nothing happened. And our tax dollars, I feel, got wasted.
Okay, so why did nothing happen?
Probably because we didn't have a public integrity officer.
No, it's, well,
Hold on. Are you,
Go right ahead.
go ahead.
Mr. Garrett.
Okay.
He yields his time.
thank you, I appreciate it, thank you. What typically would happen is that you would, with those allegations that were even happening with the last administration, they were turned over to the federal office in Detroit, which I'm not gonna say nothing was done, but it's just kind of sitting on people's desks because you don't have a public integrity officer. Typically what happens is that once something gets done on a political level, either you're in a political, where it revolves around a political statement or political things like a mayor's office, that kind of thing, that investigation is turned over to your local prosecutor, AD, assistant prosecutor's office, and they rely on the authority of another office, which is like a public integrity office, to do all the ground work, because we just don't have that. We just don't have those resources the higher you go up to deal with that local matter. And so they will basically they'll say, okay, Gil, Mr. Garrett, you have federal credentials, so can you please do this particular investigation? And then, that'll take me away from my duties as this, in Pontiac, but then that would, I'll still be doing that field work versus if we had somebody like this, they would do all the field work and then have those legal ramifications to go to the assistant prosecutor's office to do something.
So you're saying that we would have our own officer in place rather than relying on some other authority to appoint someone?
Correct. That's what would this be with this person.
And how often does this transpire? This sort of scenario?
In the 2 decades that I've been here, I've used it maybe 6 times.
6 times.
And those are major violations, right? Like, so this public integrity office is supposed to eliminate all the minimal, like, hey, this person is stealing out of the, I don't know, maintenance fund or something. This person is supposed to look at that. But once it gets to a point where, like, say for grant dollars, or he goes and an audit comes up, they say they use grant funds to repair somebody's home that didn't qualify for it, then that's where all the federal, that's where the federal office has to get involved, but they won't have time to do the investigation because it's, just look.
I just have a hard time thinking that we don't have the capacity, the way we're set up now, to govern and monitor ourselves. And to think that we have to keep hiring different layers of personnel to watch ourselves, is troublesome for me. And we already have within this document a board of ethics. And the board of ethics basically would be sort of like riding side by side with this integrity officer.
Mm-hmm.
And, you would hope that the existing law enforcement capacities that we have in society would be able to handle things which are egregious and require being handled. And the smaller things are the sorts of things that our elected officials should be able to handle on their own. So I have a whole problem with this whole notion. I mean, it sounds like, you know, we're trying to believe that we're New York City or something.
Well, no, that's why I became a police officer and an elected official. Like, just for example, this is why I became a police officer and then said I wanted to run for the elected official position, because when you went to go investigate a crime that is happening, you couldn't do it unless you were sitting on the board, and then I had to wait on somebody to give me the information. But as a police officer, I could sit on the board and as an elected official say, there's something going on. Oh, okay, I don't need nobody's permission. I can ask for Mrs. Ramsey permission to say, hey, can I go talk to this person? But I don't need it because I can throw on the other hat and say, hey, as an authority officer, which is that this officer, public integrity officer is, basically, and say I can go investigate it without waiting on all the red tape. And mind you, I share the passion with you. Say we're not New York, but we got New York City problems.
Red tape exists for a purpose. You know. Sometimes you have to have red tape in order to guard against unnecessary inquiries into things. You have to have certain permissions in order to be able to step into certain areas.
Yeah.
So that's why it exists. I mean, it's unfortunate that we have that, but you still don't want somebody running around, just jumping into stuff just because I'm the integrity officer.
And that's true. I think the activities spell that out. If you go down and read, I got a chance to peruse it and just kind of looking at it. It doesn't, the person is just not rambling and going around. There are some other things in here that there's some limitations to what they can do, and then also, powers, especially in that powers and duty section. So
I'm going to go to Williams, Stewart, and then Burrows, but I'm just going to say, I think your objection to this entire section has been noted. I don't want to debate each and every section for 10 minutes because we just vote no. I don't, is that appropriate to say on the mic? Just say no, because we're trying to get through this, because we are trying to get this charter to our attorneys in order to do it. So if you don't like it, that is your prerogative, just say no. But we're not gonna go 5-10 minutes each section just because you don't like it. Williams? Stewart?
I'll just make a general comment real quick. My organization has a $15 million budget, has way less complications than a city. It has a compliance officer full-time, and it has a contracted compliance officer separately. We have a multitude of things that come through that, right, that are important, that aren't just, again, doing witch hunts. And so I think it is important in any organization that's getting complex funding, right, to have somebody who's focusing on compliance, because that is really most of this role. There's not anyone in the city who's focusing on compliance, right? Whether that's with our grant contracts, especially as we get more grants. I mean, we just now have a grant office. There's a lot of compliance issues that come with that. There's a lot of compliance issues that come with our subcontractors. There's a lot of things that get held up because we don't have anybody focusing on compliance. Now, part of that is unlegal, and part of that is having someone who understands those restrictions and abilities. And so I think broadly, we are regardless of size, we're a multi-trillion dollar. So call it public integrity officer, call it compliance officer if you want to. I don't care what you call it. But that role is so vital to making sure that those small things that happen don't become big things, right? And so we've had big things happen, consistently big things, because we haven't had anybody making any checks on the earlier sides of that. And the community, let's keep in mind, the community has had no recourse. Right? No one's been able to do anything because people have complained. I've complained personally. Nothing's ever happened to it because no one's investigating it because it's just political life, right? And that's not fair for anybody. That makes it so that our citizens are having a worse life because they got to get involved in every damn thing that happens in this city, and that is not fair. That makes it where you got to pay attention to city council every 5 minutes, right? I want to pay attention to city council every 5 minutes. I want to have a life on a Tuesday for 4 hours. That is the reason for this. Right? And so you have a board of ethics, yes, but who gives them reports? Who is doing that? You don't want them doing that. They're not paid. Right? And so it is a partnership for a reason, because there needs to be somebody who is actually investigating the stuff. The board of ethics isn't going to do that. They may bring things, they may review things, they may keep them in check, but they're not going to be the person who's investigating. And as Gil said, our enforcement agencies don't have the capacity for this small stuff. So then it becomes big stuff, and that's when they investigate. And that's not good. It's the same. I mean, there's so many other places where this has happened. I mean, my God, the amount of bribes that have happened in every other city in this damn Southeast Michigan. We don't want to be that. And we got a lot of things that slide that probably could have been, right? Like, so that's, I think, it broader than just public integrity and thinking about it's a witch hunt. It's not. It is about compliance. Compliance across the board.
Thank you. Burrows?
I just had a question about the bachelor's degree. Are you gonna, are we switching it to like maybe associates?
Yeah.
Because when I do look at the qualifications, no disrespect, but a lot of our local law enforcement, they don't have bachelor's degrees. Some of them don't have any degree. So, yeah, I think we should either switch it to, like, say, associates or something other than bachelor's because of that reason.
So do we need to,
I can re. Got, oh, yeah.
oh, we need Williams and Payne to rescind?
I rescind.
All right. 7.203,
Question.
yes.
Public integrity officer versus public compliance officer, they're like, sound like two entirely different things. So what you just described was compliance to, like, the rules and regulations that come along with money that's distributed to the city. So how do you combine compliance with integrity in terms of, like, this definition of a position that you're talking about? You know, I see, moving forward in some of the descriptions, you have issues of compliance, but the whole title of this whole thing, it sounds like it's, somebody sitting around looking for stuff that's wrong. But compliance with the appointment of funding for this project, that project, that's an entirely different conversation for me. I mean, I was hearing something entirely different. But now you're saying it's a compliance thing in terms of, like, making sure that, we're following the guidelines for money that comes down the pipe.
I think it's more than the money. I think it is the corruption, like what was said in the first part. It's the corruption, it's the abuse, it's the fraud. So that there's a compliance component, but there's also an integrity component. All right, thank you. So we need you to reread 7.203.
7.203, let me just make it. So, minimum qualifications. The public integrity officer shall be a person who, 1, has an associate's degree from an accredited institution of higher learning, 2, has at least 5 years of experience in any combination of the following fields, which is A, as a federal, state, or local law enforcement officer, B, as a federal, state, or local government attorney, including a public defender, C, as a federal or state court judge, D, progressive supervisory experience in an investigative public agency similar to an inspector general or public integrity office, and E, has managed and completed complex investigations involving allegations of fraud, theft, deception, and conspiracy. F, has demonstrated the ability to work with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies and the judiciary, and G, any related field or experience.
Is there a move? Move. Support?
Support, Garrett.
Moved by Williams, supported by Garrett. Discussion? Payne?
I'm not too sure about changing that from a bachelor's to associates, because, I mean, in here, I just don't see how, I guess, I don't know. I don't see an associate's degree in these, in A through E.
I don't see a bachelor's either.
No.
All right,
I get it.
any other discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Killian,
Yes.
Payne. Ramsey,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
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 C, yes.
All right. 7.204, limitations, prohibited activities. Excuse me.
All righty, 7.204, limitations, prohibited activities. A, during his or her term, the public integrity officer may not engage in an occupation for profit except for teaching or hold any other government office outside the duties of the public integrity officer. B, subject to applicable law, the public integrity officer shall not solicit votes or raise monetary or in-kind contributions for any candidate for an elective office. C, any person who has held the position of public integrity officer is not eligible for reappointment, period. Subject to applicable law, the public integrity officer may not hold any elective city office until 2 years after leaving the position.
Is there a move to accept 7.204?
Moved.
Moved by Williams.
Support.
Support by Ibarra. Discussion. I have one question. C,
Yeah, I reread
I
it and
don't-
didn't like it either.
because I'm like, so if
Yeah.
they hold it for 6 years, they can't do it again?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And honestly, I would probably even.
I don't like that. Because, I mean, we
So I
could.
think that's what we agreed on, and so maybe I think we can take that.
Okay,
Because I think as a body, we've said we
Yes.
prefer if someone would
Right.
stay on. I think the second sentence is totally fine.
so we remove the first sentence. Okay. All right, Garrett, Killian, y'all got something?
Yeah,
All right, go.
we don't.
Y'all-
We were trying to do, we were going to put a motion on the floor to relook at 7.203, so we were discussing not to put that motion on the floor to relook at that.
Okay,
So that was it, ma'am.
okay. Well, turn
Okay.
y'all mic off because y'all a little loud.
No, our mics were off.
No, it wasn't. Yours wasn't. Yours wasn't. So are y'all okay with 7.204?
I was saying,
When you say not engage in an occupation
Oh,
for
that's a
profit,
good one. They can't have no second
so you
job.
can't have a,
Correct.
that was my question.
Yeah, so the goal is, you're not going to have a second job. You're not going to be a consultant for, like the goal is you are this is your full time. You're not an elected official. It means that you can be a volunteer, right? Like you can be a volunteer for a board of a nonprofit or something like that. Like you can do that stuff. That's okay. But like you're not going to go and work somewhere because I think that is eliminating the conflict of interest, right? So there may be a lot of conflicts that come up in those positions. So that's I think what it's trying to get at, except for teaching.
Can
going
we
to.
say that they can't work at a job that would be a conflict of interest
can
instead
change
of
it.
saying
Yeah.
they can't work a second job? Because then I'm like, how much we paying them?
Right.
Right?
So you say I can't do hair on the side?
Right.
Well, then no one needs to know that one. The law shouldn't know that either.
It's been rescinded by Williams. Can we rescind it by Ibarra?
Rescind, I support.
All right, so the motion and the support have been rescinded. We're gonna clean up the language, and then we are going to reread it.
yeah, but I think that first language should stay. I think that if you're gonna have somebody that's responsible for upholding the integrity, there's going to be a lot of other for-profit things they can do, like if they own a tax business or whatever and somebody shifts them clients, that's not a direct conflict of interest, but if you look at it in the long run, it could actually be that route.
That is true. I mean, think about stocks in the
Yeah.
Congress right now, right?
Yeah.
Like all that stuff could be a conflict at some point.
So I think
That's
for
where that
that,
comes
for that
into
6 years,
bribes.
they gotta make a decision.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
so, Burrows. There's, I think it's saying the battery low. So Williams and Stewart just had a conversation on anything could end up being a conflict of interest. And so for these 6 years, if you wanted this job, you would have to not work a second job. See, y'all down there kikiing. And these people over here talking, y'all didn't even hear.
Listen, Madam President,
Yes.
we weren't keying. First of all, second.
Oh, I'm sorry, y'all.
And if we're to have a deliberation on it, to be honest with you, we were talking about the not having a second job because it's right. Anything can be
Put the
a conflict.
conversation on the floor then, so we can be paying attention. Y'all can be hearing what these people saying.
Okay, so
Because
one
I'm
minute,
okay with it either way, but I understand where y'all coming from not having a second job. But also, I think we gonna have to pay this person some really good money if we telling them they can't work no second job. These two came up with another thing.
Oh, so they was keying.
No, they were actually
Okay.
debating on the floor, sir.
Okay.
And what I heard was y'all was high-high, okay?
Okay.
So, okay, William Stewart, can y'all say what y'all said when Kermit said he think we shouldn't add the provision of unless it's a conflict? Turn your mic on, sir.
Yes, so for the people in the back, we are, the discussion was the fact that anything could be a conflict of interest. For example, I used if they had a tax business, if somebody looked the other way on some fraud or whatever, and they ended up sending them additional clients, that was a big thing. I think about all of the turmoil we went through with medical marijuana in the city. So I think that should be eliminated. And then Stewart brought up the fact that with the stocks in Congress, and then if you look at the Supreme Court, they're trying to come up with a conflict of interest statement for the same thing, and that's their full-time job.
All right, so Burroughs. So we thought we was gonna put a provision that said unless it's a conflict of interest, and then they said anything could be a conflict of interest. So if we don't, so they can't work another job for the 6 years. So that's where they at. So I want you to chime in, cause.
I just don't agree with it. I don't think.
Turn your mic on.
Can't tell me I can't work a second job. Like if I need to make ends meet, I need to make it meet. Like if, unless you paying
Right,
an
that's
arm
what
and a
I'm
leg. Now, if it's a job, like I do understand, like for example, when I worked at the bank, I used to sell houses before I worked at the bank. But once I started working there at the bank, they said I could no longer sell houses because they did mortgages. So that's a conflict of interest, which I understand. So in this instance, it'd have to be a job that that's a conflict of interest, like, or it'd have to be a job that's paying well in order to not have me work a second job. Like I said, just for example, if I did hair on the side, that has nothing to do with integrity or, my previous position. So I do think we need to look at that and figure out what type of jobs would be a conflict of interest, or how much we gonna pay this person to make them not work a second job. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I also have, so I also feel like we can't tell somebody to not have a second job, but I also see and understand, like Kermit said, like you can make, if you doing hair on the side, I'm gonna come and pay you $1,000 to get a sew-in. Do it look like I wear sew-ins? But you can't tell me that I didn't come and get a service from you, right? Because that's what I'm paying for. So anything can be a conflict of interest in a position like this, is what they're saying. And I agree with that. And so I don't like it. I'm like, we're gonna have to look at paying somebody very well, but they would have the decision because they would be applying or asking to be appointed to do this job. So I get what they're saying, and I have issues with it, but yeah. Killian.
And then it raises another question, like you're saying. It comes down to, I'm sort of like Norbert. Do you eliminate the possibility of someone feeding their family, far as if this job doesn't pay enough? So the thing is, and I know y'all are thinking about, you don't want to do that type of situation. However, you still, with other jobs, 96 of the jobs can cause a conflict. So how are you going to get in the medium of that? That I think is more the question, because what if who's in charge of this salary, which is not going to be the charter commission, lowballs it enough to where they don't want that position filled. So it's not filled, and then therefore, what? We did a lot of this work for nothing, and they can run amok. Our whole thing is trying to safeguard this city for whatever, reasons we all are knowing. And so my thing would be, how can that be worked out? Because like you say, you don't want to be put in the position to be pigeonholed. But then again, certain positions do. Is this type of position?
Thank you. Garrett?
So could you, and the city I've seen the city has done this as well. You describe, as you're describing, this person is an investigator. Basically, that's what they ultimately end up being. Can you put, because I don't think that we can specify how much to pay the person. So with that being said, could you ask, can we put in there something as it relates to having these qualifications looked at with your local law enforcement agency and feel that way? Because that person still doesn't report. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you paying them already.
Yeah.
And go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't want to interrupt.
Okay, so you paying the person already. The person knows that the qualifications they have to have is this.
Right.
So you're going to get appointed a specialized person who has the training, who has all of this information, and legally is bonded by whatever they testify to, so they can you wouldn't have to worry about them. I don't even think there's an issue with even a 6-year appointment, because you know that the person, when they accept the position, just like they would in any other position that the city offers, such as community policing, all of those, you know that they're going to be there for a term or however long that they need to be there. So
I think then my suggestion is either to put something that says, we already have conflict of interest provisions that are worked into the new disclosures, right? That is one thing that we do have that is different from now. I do think this position does need to be held to a different standard, right? And so people who are interested in a position like this, these are things that they have to do. We can't even use a law firm at my work because they have a relationship, even though it's a completely separate thing, with one of our local hospitals. Like, this happens all the time, where then they can't take that job on. Now it's a bigger piece, right? If I were to become, or I think about actually CEOs of my organizations, right? The organizations around here, when they have their contract, they can't get another job unless that's approved by the board, right? That's how this works, right? So when you're in these kind of heavy, it's positions like these where those become even more focused. But I also recognize, here's my thing. If you are struggling in this position with the pay that you're making, resign. We got it. We don't want you. We don't want to put you in a bad position like that. You know what I mean? We want you to be in a position that is positive for you and your family. And if this isn't the right position for you at this time, that's one piece too. The other thing I was thinking about is 7.207 is about funding, office staffing, all that jazz. Maybe what we do in there is that this is actually guided by the local officers compensation committee. We already did what we kind of did for city council or other things where you gotta make sure this office is funded. That is, if you're not funding this sufficiently, then that's a provision that's already in this charter for both and for multiple things, right? So that, I think maybe we can beef up that section when we get to it as well. Does that make sense? Does that help at least? I think it could find a balance, but maybe there is some language that we could also craft that could be better for A as well. So I'm comfortable with that too, because I recognize the point.
Well, just like you said, can you add, as far as for Ed 7.204, can you add something that says, as far as a second job, may not engage in an occupation for profit, except approved by council or whoever can approve it?
Yeah.
You know what I
That makes
mean?
sense. Yeah, and maybe the ethics board has a say in this
Yeah,
too.
or ethics board,
That's a
and
good
then
one
that
for
way,
the ethics board.
I brought my second job
Yeah.
to you. you looked it over and
Yeah.
said, hey, that's not a conflict of interest. It's okay for you to work that second
Yep.
job.
Makes sense. I think then what I would probably add is a beefed up disclosure for this position, talking about the role of the ethics board and approving those conflicts of interest and monitoring those conflicts of interest for all. I mean, they should be monitoring it for everyone, to be fair, but they should. And then I think more specifically for this position that they have approvals of that as well. And I think that makes sense because then I think then you're seeing the citizens have a role in that as well and recognizing those conflicts. That makes sense. I like that.
Would there
Could
be
we table it until? I want to kind of wordsmith it
Okay.
without the cameras.
So we need Williams and Garrett to rescind their.
I was saying, ma'am.
Thank you. And I think there's a motion on the floor to table.
So moved.
To table 7.203. It's been moved, I'm sorry, 204. Thank you. It's been motioned by Stewart and seconded by Garrett. Discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Turpin. Williams,
Yes.
Ibarra,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Ramsey.
Yes.
9 yeas, no nays.
All right, so we are stopping at 7.204. Closing comments. Stewart.
Great discussion. I'm glad that we were able to go through these today. I think all of you, this is exactly what I hope when we come to these sections, right? There may be some people who disagree. We're not all going to agree, but I think we all agree on this section particularly. The other things that are included in the packet that I provided was adding, and I'll just note this so that maybe we read it for the next time and can be ready to kind of walk through these quickly, is we have talked about adding a Department of City Council. There already kind of is, but it's not specified. And so this establishes a little bit more of what that kind of looks like. So that is one thing I added. That is a provision that I added there. And then the other thing I added was our conversation around boards and commissions. And so we had talked about taking the Arts Commission out of the exec and just making a whole section or a chapter on boards and commissions. So I beefed up the language and added those more specifically into what that can look like. So I put in a lot of work, so I want to make sure we get to these because I think these are important provisions for all of us, in addition to all the rest of the things we got to go to. But I think these are things that are based on the conversation. So I think for next week, if we can read through that, that'd be awesome.
So Stewart is asking next week that we read page 1 and 2,
3, I think, 3 and 4.
3 and 4, and then we started on 5, so then you can move to page 8 with 7.204, and then read and mark up into page 12. So that's what we'll be focusing on. Was that the request? Yes.
Yep.
1 through 5, and then 8 through 12.
1 through 5.
All right. Ibarra.
Okay.
No comment.
Thank you. Turpin. Payne.
Good evening, and thank you, Madam Chair, for your wishes during my absence. Well wishes, I should say.
Thank you. Burrows.
I'd just like to say it was a good meeting today. I like when we disagree, I guess, when we put things on the floor. I do appreciate that. And I do appreciate everyone's time that they putting in with this charter because we are not getting paid to be here. So the fact that we here and every Thursday, I appreciate it, and I hope the city appreciates it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Garrett,
No comment, ma'am. Happy New Year to everybody.
thank you. Killian,
First and foremost, praise the Lord, honor to the prophet, honor to Miss Evelyn LaDuff, honors to everyone here, because when you honor man and woman, you honor our God Allah. I would love to, I'm glad that we had a great meeting. I just want to point out that we have to continue this great effort, and even though it's not non-payable, to move our city forward, because as we know, this is a big little city. So we have to think forward. This is not going to be the capacity it is tomorrow. Hopefully and prayerfully, we'll be growing. So we have to consider some of our ideas, our thoughts, and considerations into growing this city into a bigger and better place. We got to stop thinking that, well, this is only our population, as it speaks of now. If we plan on being great and better, we have to grow. So with that said, I leave everybody in honor, as we say in the Moorish language, Islam, which only means peace.
thank you. Williams,
No comment.
Happy New Year. Please come prepared and ready for discussion. We are hitting close to the timeline, and so we just got to get through these things. So I look forward to seeing y'all next Thursday on time. And Happy New Year, and thank you. Meeting adjourned at 8:42.
Hallelujah.